My name is Phyllis, and I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm a food addict and a compulsive overeater. This is a very interesting topic to me. Well, I'll give you the details of my life. I've been in program for, I believe, 38 years. I came in at 360 pounds. I've lost 220 pounds. I had a severe break in my abstinence. I think I was in program, probably for at least 7 or 8 years. I really don't remember. And I was living in Florida at the time. And we had just moved, my husband and I. My husband wanted to retire to warm weather. Our children were grown. We sold our house in Massachusetts and we built a home in Florida. And the only thing that led me, I have to qualify everything I'm going to say that I learned after I broke my abstinence. And I'm hoping that what I say today will help somebody think of these things before they break their abstinence. I became very, very cocky. I remember when we traveled to Florida to finally move into our house, I remember going into a restaurant and saying, nobody knows me here. That was the biggest red flag that I completely ignored. I completely ignored it. And I found OA. OA was not popular and not common where I lived in Florida in those years. It was the late 90s. And I had trouble finding a meeting, but I did find one. It was 50 miles away, but I went to that meeting religiously once a week. But it wasn't a strong meeting. It was what we used to call an eating meeting. People talked about what they ate or didn't eat all week. So it was a struggle for me. But I did it. I got a sponsor. My sponsor here in Massachusetts broke her abstinence. Should have been another red flag for me. So I got another sponsor in Florida. She was in program less time than me. Not that that was a detriment, but she wasn't strong. She was very kind. She was very nice. I did not need necessarily kindness and niceness. I needed somebody to tell me what to do, to be firm with me. So this went along, and I broke it very sneakily. It's exactly what they say. The first thing to go for me were the phone calls. I left my number on her email. I always justified what I did. On her voicemail, or, I'll call her later. The next thing was I would commit my abstinence for that day to my sponsor. And then one of my friends would ask me out to lunch. And I'd say, okay. And I wouldn't call anybody. I would go out to lunch, and I may be abstinent and may not. It just went along like this for maybe 3 weeks or a month. Meanwhile, I was adding more food, adding more things, because my body was getting adjusted and required that sugar that I was putting into it and that flour that I am allergic to. By this time, I had completely lost my weight. I was at goal weight. So I continued to go to the meetings. God is the only, this is how I know there's a God in my life. God was the only one that did that for me, because I really don't know why I did that, but I did keep that connection. I did call my sponsor, but I lied to her. I told her things that were not true. I told her what she wanted to hear. I wanted to be the spotless, OA leader, and I wasn't. And so anyway, this went along for, maybe 3-4 weeks. It became longer and longer. I was gaining weight. And I was despairing more and more. I was becoming more withdrawn, doing less and less. And the less I did, the worse I got. So this went along, and I finally, what changed it is only spiritual. All I can say is one night I went to bed and I was sobbing. I was crying so hard. And my husband said, "What is wrong? What's wrong?" I said, I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble. Well, he said, my husband was very accepting of my weight. He said, "Well, if you can't do it, why don't you just accept your weight the way it is? Why don't you just say, this is me?" And I said, "I can't do that. I keep gaining. I'm not stopping. I can't do that." He said, "Well, then why don't you stay in program? Why don't you work? Why don't you work to lose it?" I said, "I can't do that either." So I was between a rock and a hard place. So that night, I fell asleep crying. I woke up and I said, "I've got to call somebody." And I remembered somebody in Massachusetts who I believed was very, very firm and a terrific sponsor. And I called her and she took me on, bless her soul. She's still my sponsor this day, bless her soul. And so I went back on program and I had gained 45 pounds. This was a couple of months. I had gained 45 pounds. I lost that weight and I've been in program ever since. Now, have I been tempted? Have I had trouble with food, wanting things? Of course I have. This has not been, free of that. But I want to discuss what I learned from that. And what I learned is when I came into program, I came to lose weight, end of sentence. I did not know about OA. I did not know about the spiritual component. I knew about AA. I had done some work in nursing school on AA, but I just wasn't familiar with OA. And when I came into program, it was recommended that I do a step study. I did that. I did several of them. I did all the work, but I didn't really believe it. I've come to find out I didn't believe that. I still believe that I could do this on my own. And the second thing is I felt as if this was my responsibility as a person, as a fat person, to take care of my own body, to take care of my own weight. I really did not understand that this was a disease that I had no control over. I heard all those words in OA, but I guess I didn't believe it, and this is how it showed up. So I came into program just to lose weight, and I did that, and I was a happy camper. So this is what set me off, is that I did not do any really deep spiritual work. And that third leg of the stool never stood up. It never stood up. I kept falling down, and this is what happened. So I thought it was all about me. I knew that I had a God in my life. I believe in God. I believe He helps me. But like I say, I thought it was my responsibility to do this. I thought I was smart enough and knew enough, not only because I was a nurse and I knew all about nutrition, but that I had learned a lot in OA. And I guess I was, one-track mind. What I learned in OA, I kind of blotted out all the other things and said, this is my job to do this. And I did it, not knowing that I didn't do it alone. I never did this alone. So I thought I could do this, and I thought I could do it myself. Boy, was I wrong. I had to learn the hard way, but I learned that my God never abandoned me. He always was there helping me. And somebody at that time told me this little story that I will tell you that I never forgot, and I never will forget. My God, my higher power, is on one side of the door, and I'm on the other side of the door, and I'm the only one with the doorknob. And that, to me, says everything. First of all, it tells me that my God, my higher power, is always there. I learned at that time that all my previous years, all my 50 years of living, that God was with me in every single situation, everything. But I didn't call on Him. I didn't use Him. I didn't ask Him to help me because the food was always in the way. And there again, the food was in the way. when I broke my abstinence. He was always there. I just never recognized him because I let the food get in the way. So that's when I learned it was a really, really disease, really big disease. So what did I do? I had to change my way of thinking. I had to come to be in enough pain, which is what I did. It became so painful. There's another saying that the worst pain is a belly full of food and a head full of OA. You know, before OA, it was painful enough, but now I knew there was a solution, and I had used it, and now I had abandoned it. So I was in enough pain to call my friend, and God helped me do that. He helped me make the call. And when I qualify now, I tell people that I have not been abstinent all these years, that I did break my abstinence. I hate doing that. I hate admitting this is the kind of person I am. I hate admitting that I made that mistake. You know, I hate it, but I have to do it because I have to never forget that I did it and that it can happen again to me. And I certainly don't want it. So I need to do this on a daily basis. I need to ask God for help every day, because every day I wake up with this disease. Every day it is hovering over me. And I have been vulnerable all these years since I had that major break. I have been tempted, but I quickly ask for God. And the only reason I can ask God, is because I'm clear. Right now, I am clear of those substances. I am abstinent. So I'm clear of the substances that, you know, I was in a fog for years and years and years. Nothing was more important than that food. And it just controlled my life. So abstinence alone will not help. Well, it will help me, but it will not help to the extent that it can be. The abstinence, it starts with abstinence because I need to clear my body of that destructive stuff that is just, it's poison for me. I know it now. And I have to be able to keep clear in order to get the help I need. The next thing is the tools. I do the tools. I became very wishy-washy with the tools. I did some day and some the next. I no longer do that. I make my phone calls. I weigh and measure. My scale with my little notes is right on my counter. When I was sick and had surgery, my kids knew exactly what to do with the scale, the note, right there on the counter. Everything was written out, and I still do that every day. I still give my food to my sponsor when I talk to her. I only talk to her certain days of the week, but I write it down every day. I give it to God. I don't change it unless it's a valid reason once I write it. And if there is a reason, then I call my sponsor. If I can't get her, I call another 90-day person to make that change. So the second thing is I did some emotional work while I was doing this, but without the spiritual component, that emotional work was really tough, really hard, you know, to go through 45 years of emotional garbage and stay abstinent without my higher power, without doing some spiritual work, was just too difficult. So now I know the value of that three-legged stool. I have to do all the components. I have to be abstinent to start because I need to be clean and clear. That gives me the ability to do the emotional work and then get the spiritual help after that to handle the emotional work that I'm going through, to do fourth and fifth steps, to clear my mind and to change my way of thinking. I did not like myself. Sometimes today I still don't, but I value myself now because I know my God values me. And it's only with God's help that this is possible for me to do this every day. There's a couple of things in the Voices of Recovery book. Repetition is the only form of permanence that nature can achieve. You know, I have to do this every day. I wake up and I look at myself in the mirror. I'm happy what I see. I want that to continue. So what do? I do my prayers. I weigh and measure my food. I make my phone calls. I go to meetings. I practice anonymity. I read my literature. Does that take time? You're not kidding, it does. But is it worth it? Absolutely. I worked very hard at eating compulsively. I need to work just as hard or harder to stay abstinent. Let's see, I have a couple of other things. The only defense I have against the disease of compulsive overeating is a spiritual one. And that was the thing that was missing in my life. And I've discovered a new God of my understanding. It's just different. I call on God a lot. I had to go out. I do not drive at night. I am older and I just don't drive at night. I'm not confident. But there was a function at my church I wanted to go to last night. And I knew the way. It was a short distance, no highway. And I asked God to help me. Tell me, should I go or should I not? Is it too dangerous? I thought he was telling me to go, and I went. And I had a wonderful time, and I made it just fine. It was clean and clear. And I cried all the way. I cried all the way home because I was so happy that this was open to me, that I could do this. And my God talks to me all the time, either directly or through people or through a phone call or through meeting somebody. I get the help I need. I get the help I need when I call on God if I am abstinent, if I am not eating. It is just a blessing that I am grateful for. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to do. Today, I know that this was not surrendering. I simply did what I needed to do to recover until I was no longer so desperate. A part of me always believed that someday I'd be able to live normally. I thought that all the time. Just let me lose this weight, I'll go back, and everything will just be fine. Well, that isn't true. I want to live this way now. I love this way. I enjoy things that I never thought I could enjoy. Food took up so much space, so much time. I don't have that anymore. My medical health is so good because I am abstinent, because of what I eat and the way I live. I've had a couple of surgeries that are, well into my 70s, one in my 80s, and they were fine because I am in such really relatively good health. I want to stay this way, but I know that I need to put the work in it. It's very, very important. The other thing is I was abstinent yesterday, and I have a choice to accept the privilege of abstaining today. I have to stay abstinent, but it is also a choice. I can eat. I live alone. Nobody would know the difference. I would know the difference. I choose today to be abstinent. I choose to have a good day. I choose to do those tools. I choose these things because I know they work now, and I want them. I want that life that God wants for me. That's my God wants that for me. He doesn't want me to be miserable. So I am very, very grateful to go over these things with you today, to remember them because I need to do that, and to never forget that who I am and what I am, and it's great. I'm glad I realized that I'm a compulsive overeater today, and how many killing diseases do we have these days that we have complete cures for? But I'm not cured. I have to keep remembering that. I am recovering today. Today I'm recovered, and I hope to be tomorrow. But tomorrow is tomorrow. I'll stay in the day. I appreciate you asking me to share, and thank you very much.